This is 1 mana left, and we're like 3.25 days into patch 0.2. The blacksmith has been going really well. You know what? People like to watch gameplay. I'll bonk as I talk. The build's going well, to say the least. I'm level 90 now. I think I'm like 400th on the ladder or something, which I didn't plan to be, but you know, a lot of other builds are weak right now. But the build, to summarize, is blink and then bonk. First you bonk, then you blink. Or, I mean, you can actually switch up the order. But I blink and I bonk. Sometimes there's a rare that lives, and I perfect strike. Okay, asshole. Sometimes a rare lives, and I have to perfect strike it. And sometimes he dodges my perfect strike because I'm recording a video. But for the most part, I have like, I think it's unfair to call this full screen AoE. I would maybe call this off screen AoE. Because I definitely have stuff die like a screen over and have to go loot it later then. So it's actually, I'm getting some latency spikes right now, so you'll have to bear with that. But I'm actually getting like, basically off screen AoE. If you're not sure how this works, basically it's using the Cultist Hammer, which is now renamed Fanatic Great Hammer, to make it so that auto attack pops and chains off everything and has a ridiculous radius. Then you just scale radius, and then you blink and you bonk. I started doing this in Act 5. I got a Zealot's Hammer, which is like the baby version of this. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the best warrior skill, to be honest. Like, my damage is a little low right now, but it'll get higher. The content isn't going to get higher. This is already tier 16 maps. But it's kind of just the best warrior skill. Like, yeah, you got Hammer of the Gods if you want to, you know, pop a whole screen or whatever. But for clear, I tried this a little bit in 0.1, and I didn't like it because I got used to the baked-in movement of Stampede, like traveling through maps. And it felt bad to stop moving and attack. So I was trying to, you know, I got used to that armor explosion, and the thing is, Blacksmith's just way better defensively in Titan, and you don't get the crushing blow. So the armor explosion is completely off the table. Even with the no self chain, it was decent. But this setup doesn't have crushing blow, but it does have things that are just like ridiculously strong defensively. So this is kind of your only option's auto attack, which is a good option. But I'm going to go through in this video basically how I got here, because I am level 90 now. But I'm going to go through kind of my gem level progression and just kind of how I played, how I swapped. And that's the map. There we go. Alright. So, to start off, you are going to wash up on the beach as a warrior. Warriors throughout the campaign have clunkiness. They're a little awkward. They're fairly tanky. And they have a really, really easy time on bosses. Because you have a skill called Perfect Strike, which they nerfed to be even slower now. But it still basically deletes any boss. Most of the campaign bosses for me, it was like 3 Perfect Strikes. So it takes like 2 or 3 seconds to get off now. But it just kills whatever it touches. They didn't nerf the damage at all. But I have a progression here of gems. So, to start off, you're going to start off with Rolling Slam. It's basically the first skill you get. You actually probably could just use auto attack the whole way, but without the baked-in AoE, it's really only okay for single target. There are some single target fights where you don't have to, you know, move around too much, where you can just stand still and perfect strike, and auto attack. But for the most part, I played through like Act 1 with Rolling Slam. But then at level 14, which is before the count, you probably somewhere in the Ogham village, you'll get level 14, or the manor. And you get Perfect Strike, and then from there, every boss is really simple. You go Perfect Strike, Wind of Opportunity, those 2 are mandatory. Just get used to the timing. And then you can add Fire, because it's really good for getting bigger ignites. They took away in the patch the guaranteed ignite of Perfect Strike. But the thing is, it's already a really big hit that has like mostly Fire convert, and then you can get extra Fire. So it's going to be like 85 out of 125 is Fire. That much Fire damage, it's basically gonna ignite anyways. Like against even like act bosses, like when you fight the count, if you land a perfect strike, it's probably like 80% chance gonna ignite them. So by that point, the campaign is a breeze for you. You're gonna get to a point in Act 2 where you have a little bit of competition for support gems because you can only use one of each support and each skill. And there's a couple setups that want the same skills, and I would say that like Act 2 to Act 3 is probably early Act 2 is the worst because you don't have access to the Tier 2 supports where you get more variety. It's the tail end of the level 1 supports, and you just don't quite have enough to go around. So early Act 2, it's really strapped for supports, but if you're only using 3 links, it's not that bad. So basically, you're going to get Leap Slam, and at this point, I pretty much did the campaign switching to Leap Slam Bone Shatter. There's a new support called Brink as well, I'll get to that, but for the most part, you just Leap Slam. It's an okay movement skill. It can be fast with a fast one-hander. I actually did about 20 levels of the campaign without Titan's Grip with a one-hander that had like 1.7 FPS, APS. All right, this guy, we're going to have to... Here we go. We got D&D. So, you're going to have like 2 to 3 acts where it's probably best to just use Leap Slam Bone Shatter. You leap, you stun, you don't heavy stun ideally, and then you Bone Shatter and you pop. And you have AoE and Impact Shockwave in Bone Shatter, and it kind of pops the whole screen. It's slow gameplay, but it's leap, pop whole screen, leap, pop whole screen. Now sometimes you actually can get a little bit too high a damage, where Leap Slam now is heavy stunning, and it prevents Bone Shatter from going off. But you can get actually around this with a support gem that's level 2 called Brink, which makes it so that the supported skill can't heavy stun, it can't get to 100%, which is actually kind of OP. Like, you want to drop this when you get to Hammer, because you want to get hammers. But pre-Hammer, so pre-level 53, aka most of the campaign, this is a really OP support, because you just leap in, provided you have, like, decent damage, and then you guarantee you get the stun, but not the heavy stun, and then you just Bone Shatter and pop the screen. If you get some 4 links, you're going to get a little bit strapped for supports, because you probably want to keep Added Fire in the Perfect Strike, but there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. Like, you can Primal Armament, whatever, in the Perfect Strike too. It's not as good as Added Fire, but that's since Perfect Strike has the baked-in convert, that's a support gem you can use as a floater. It really only works on Perfect Strike. So then, like, Added Fire, you can move elsewhere. But eventually, you will get to a point where you get Hammer of the Gods, and you can kind of still use both Hammer and Perfect Strike as, like, 2 single-target skills. It just depends if you had stuns up or not. But once you get Hammer, you kind of don't want to use Brink, because you kind of wanted to get some random stuns just so you have hammers for rares and bosses. Because it feels better to drop a Hammer than it does to line up a Perfect Strike, especially because monsters can, like, miss easier. But when I was, like, late Act 4, early Act 5, I bought a Zealot's Mace, which is the, like, weak version of this mace. It was, like, level 48 or something, and the second I put that weapon on, immediately I was just popping the whole screen. And from there on out, clear speed was solved. I've literally been using auto attack ever since then. And auto attack, you kind of just want to go AoE, honestly. It just feels good. So there's some tech. There's a new support gem called Reach. This gets a lot of radius, because obviously there's the initial AoE gem, Magnified Effect. You still can use this. But there's a new one called Reach that's really OP. It's 35 more AoE, but supported skills have 80% less accuracy. But here's the thing. You just take RT, and it doesn't matter. So it's just a free, better than Ink AoE support gem. And you can use it and increased area of effect both. And they're both more, so they're both multiplicative with each other. So it's actually not 30 and 35. It's 1.35 times 1.3. So the combination of them is actually like 76% more area. And then that, between all the radius you get on the tree, you're going to have like the crazy big bonks like I had there. But those two are kind of the obvious ones. But the fourth, Ancestral Call, is actually kind of nice. So they buffed Ancestral Boost this patch. Now instead of being 30% damage and 20% AoE, it's actually 30% more damage now and 20% AoE. So now it's times another 1.2 times AoE. So 2.1 times. But you might think, oh, every 6 seconds. That's not that often. The thing is, it kind of is, because when you're running through the campaign, or when your character's really slow, or your attack time's slow, you actually are probably only attacking every 3 to 6 seconds. You're spending a lot of time running into a pack of monsters and then attacking one time. And if that one attack does its job, well, that Ancestral Boost is going to do exactly what it needs to every 6 seconds. So it's actually kind of OP, and once again, with the new PoE2 support system of not being able to use duplicates, that's a really powerful thing to have because it's a good support gem that only works on this skill. So it's not like added fire, close combat, where it's competing with your other skills that they all want to use that gem. It only works on the Maze Strike, so it's a free one. That means you can move. That means you can keep Perfect Strike with added fire, etc. But yeah, I have my Endgame set up now that I've tweaked to. For Endgame, I'm Reach, AoE, Ancestral Call. Martial Tempo is my sixth link I added technically, and then I've gone for added fire here because I'm only 5 link right now for Perfect Strike, and I'm going Primal Armament there instead, then Close Combat, Wind of Opportunity, and I'm doing Eternal Flame because a lot of times a 4-second Ignite isn't quite enough. I just want an 8-second Ignite because there's a lot of rares or bosses where I just want to hit it once, put a fat Ignite on it, and then just finish it off with auto attack or just like leave or whatever. Like, it's another one of those free supports that just isn't getting good synergy elsewhere. So just doubling your Ignite duration when Ignite's already like, half your damage. Well, like even if it's 40% your damage and you double that, that's good. But yeah, a lot of bosses kind of run around a lot and like you can't actually sit there and full tunnel them. You maybe land a hit every 8 seconds. So your uptime on the Ignite is way better. There's a lot of campaign boss fights and even like even like mapping bosses where it's like you just don't have good uptime attacking this thing, especially with as slow as Perfect Strike is. So I like the uptime on Eternal Flame. And then I have Blink. I'll get to that in a second here when I get to the Talent Tree progression. But the moral of the story with Blink is I have this right now at a 2.4 second cooldown because the game feels better with Blink. It just does. You want to have Blink. Like, the game is speed limited. When I played Titan, I did not have Blink. And playing this character with Blink, I feel actually 2 times faster. It's just a direct cut your map time in half button. It's also a really tanky skill. It might seem counterintuitive almost, but it's one of the tankiest auras because with Warrior, a lot of your attacks are so slow that you actually can't dodge boss abilities. Like, if there's a boss that's, like, rearing up for a huge hit, and you're, like, in the middle of a Perfect Strike, and everyone who's played Warrior knows this feeling. You're like, do I finish the Perfect Strike and take the hit, or do I try to move out of the way? Because your character's slow, you don't really have good movement options, and so oftentimes it means you're losing the whole attack and running. Worst case is you cancel the attack and still get hit, or you have to tank the attack, but bossing a lot of times with Blink is just free, because like the second I land a Perfect Strike or a hammer or something or anything big, there's like a big slam coming and I just blink directly behind the boss 180 and then go back to attacking. It really ups your damage uptime, so it's a huge damage support, and it makes it easy to just like turn your brain off and still dodge things. Because, it's not PoE1 speed. In PoE1, a lot of the dodging mechanics were reaction-based, where, like, you would see the thing and then use an instant movement skill to dodge it, so it was reactionary. In PoE2, the game is so slow that dodging boss mechanics is proactive, not reactive. If the ability is going to go off in 3 seconds, it takes your character 2.5 seconds to move. So you needed to decide that you were already going to start moving within a half second of seeing the ability. Otherwise, there's no point to move. Whereas in PoE1, you have until the very last second to move. So PoE1 dodging is mostly reactive. PoE2, it's mostly proactive. And Blink makes it PoE1 for being reactive again. So it's actually like the best damage and tankiness aura for 60. But it takes 133 int. So I'm going to go through the talent tree progression. You start off, you take generic damage. This is a no-brainer. Okay. You could go here at any point. Anytime it's just a good floater. It gets you strength. It's a little bit of okay armor in the campaign. I would honestly just say play it by ear with your chest piece. If you get a really high armor chest piece, do this. If you have a really bad chest piece, skip it. You probably want to do the melee damage first. Do smash first, don't pass it. Later, you can come back and take these two for AoE. So you do cross here, take these two. Way later when you're like 80 something, you can ditch this and just take only the AoE, save some points, get more radius. But for now, I like doing the extra damage for the campaign and maybe just take these two. I don't go here till later. Pretty much whenever you can get a shield, you could just go two-handers the whole way, or you can go one-hander plus shield. But basically, whenever you get a shield, you're going to take this, and early on, you're going to take Vigilance as well. You'll take both of those. If you go one-handers, obviously this is good. If you go two-handers, this is good. This is a no-brainer at any point in the campaign. These 2 points are actually kind of insane for 2. You can go RT right away, too, if your accuracy starts to slip. I would say if you have accuracy on, like, some rings or amir or gloves or something, you don't need to take it right away because it's going to cost you 3 points when you're not going this way. So I would take this whenever your accuracy falls behind. You don't need to rush it. But then eventually you're going to go down to Giant's Blood. These strength points and these strength points make it pretty easy to get on a decent two-hander. After that, you're going to start going up here and take these points. And then eventually you'll be like level 45 or 50. You'll maybe start to fill in some missing stuff here. You could go this. I basically go to this the second I get Mace Strike. I don't use this with like Leap Slam, Bone Shatter, because they have flat attack time that doesn't scale with this. But Mace Time has no flat attack time, which is why it's so good. So I have a half-second attack time now, which feels really comfy. So basically, whenever you switch Mace Strike, you add Blood Rush. You start to go up here and get these points because they're really efficient. They're really good. Yeah. Then I get ready for a big swap. I basically try to drop like this shield node because the slowing debuff potency is actually really insane. Like this is one of the most underrated stats in the entire game. Between like chill, monster specific slows, temp chains on map mods you can't roll off. This is like a sleeper OP mod. So I like that way better than the life on block. So I generally, and this is 4 points, this is 3. I generally get to the point where I get here and I'm ready for the big swap. I drop these points like when I level up. And then I maybe drop like some other random damage points, whatever. And I go for like a 9-point climb up here to get offensive stance. This gives you a lot of block, this whole area. Like this right here gives you a shit ton of block. Basically, by the time you get to this point, you'll be like guaranteed 60 plus block, assuming you have any shield with block chance. If you have a blue shield on that has block chance, it is basically better than any rare shield that doesn't have block chance. Get a shield with block chance. By the time you have these two things, you'll be like 65 block. And so this is just 65% increased damage. It's all damage. It's not gated to one weapon type. And you get all the block. So like that's about level 65. This is like way later, don't look at that. Then I come down here to Polymath. I do the AoE first because radius is good, feels good. I only have Iron Reflexes because it's actually not bad with my current amount of evasion I have. But you don't generally take RIR unless you just have like a lot of evasion on gear. You don't take the socket till later either, but then I get this AoE and CDR. That CDR is going to feel really nice later with Blink. But you come down to Polymath, and this is around level 80 to 85, and the reason this is OP is all these are 3-all attributes, 7 attributes, and you can take these down here to lower your requirements to 88%. Then you can unspec them later as you get more attributes, but getting Blink is really hard, but it's really rewarding for gameplay. So you kind of want to get a helmet that has like strength in it. You want to try to get some jewelry pieces that has attributes or strength in it. But if you can pull that off, you might even switch some of your travel points to int. Between all attribute points, gear, reduced attribute requirements, polymath, all that, you got to get to 133 int for Blink. It feels like a different game. You go from playing like PoE2 Ruthless to playing like PoE 1.7 the second you add Blink. It's just the single best offensive and defensive tool in the game. At that point, you're going to start to fill in with, like, the endgame stuff. When you Uber Lab, that's when you go Unnatural Resilience. My Labyrinth progression was no-brainer 2 points, get the res. Early campaign, this put me from like 40 all res to like 60 all res. And then you just put desert runes in all your gear because it gives you all res. So this is just like no-brainer. The second, I did the normal chest, and the most OP one by far is the Cloak of Flame. And then when you get the 75 fire res, those are just so good because you have Coal Stoker, 75 fire res. Remember, you're in the campaign. You don't have res on gear. Your gear is trash. Just getting 75 fire res plus Coal Stoker is automatic 75 all res. You will walk on the campaign from there. And then at that point, you're only really taking fizz damage. And then so, like, not only is this 25% less damage taken basically to fizz, but it then makes whatever armor you do have more effective. So these are the no-brainer 2 points. You don't take the strength next, but I would, for Merc Lab, for your 6th point, I would take the percent life and the life regen. Just bigger HP pool and a lot of passive regen makes you pretty much immortal to any chip damage. You can only die to one-shots at that point. It's really comfy. It's basically like a permanent life flask on at all times. Like, you're never going to lose a battle of attrition to a boss. But then I still keep the 75 fire res for a while. Eventually, in the end game, what's going to happen is you're going to get to a point where you get a good weapon that takes 636 strength. But remember, if you have these nodes down by polymath, it lowers that requirement to like 559, which is much more manageable. And it lowers the blink requirement to like 117. So it's actually much more easy than what shows on mine because I just happen to have some excess attributes. But once you get to this point, you're going to try to have enough like fire res scattered throughout your gear that you drop the 75 fire res and add the 20% strength and then make the weapon swap. So it's a gear check. Do I have good fire res and do I have a big boy weapon? Yes, make that swap. And then end game, you go the max res finally. This is like level 85 to 90 whenever you like manage to do the Uber Lab and kill Zakarm, whatever his name is. Then you come over here and get the unnatural resilience, and it's basically like 90 all res. You can do Inferno Clasp, or you can do a rare belt, and instead take these 3 points right here for plus 3 max all res. I would say both options are valid depending on the prices, or depending on how good your rare belt is. And then finally, you're going to get like a 3-point socket here once all your sockets are good. And then finally, I would say you're going to start to sprinkle in like fire damage. Remember, you get this revenue, you get Mace Strike. I'll go Avatar Fire later, probably like 94 for 93. And then I just made this swap. This last radius wheel is just so good. It's so much AoE. You can't really afford it early on, but once you kind of get to the end, like level 90, and you have enough damage, you have enough tankiness, you just want the bonks to be bigger. About level 90, I'd look to try to get impact area. I dropped this area and like some of these points. I haven't taken any of this, but I wanted the radius. I didn't feel like I wanted more damage. I felt like I wanted radius. I'm still going to get more damage, obviously, to the point where bosses should die a lot faster. But I kind of already have enough like AoE for endgame mapping. Like, I've been doing tier 16 and 17 maps all day. They don't get any tankier. Like, if I double my damage, it's just double damage forever. It's not like PoE1 where the content keeps scaling with you. I'm just already there. I'm already at the hardest form of mapping, and I kind of feel like I have enough damage. So, inevitably, I'm going to still scale more damage, and it's going to feel even more trivial, but it's kind of just enough right now, and then by endgame, you're just all radius. There's some maybe super endgame stuff you can do, like you can go the 3 points here for 20 CDR. I have CDR and boots as well. You can go the fire runes still for fire res, but there's 2 new talismans that are pretty good. There's 8% AoE in helmet. I tried to corrupt and get a second socket because that extra 8% would be nice. Same with boots. You can get technically 10% CDR in boots, which makes your blink CDR lower, right? Because I have, what's the difference here even? 2.45 versus 2.53. So like every little bit helps, but maybe turbo endgame. I'll take the CDR wheels, try to get my blink down to like 2.1 just for comfort. But yeah, that's the build. That's been the 1 to 90 journey. I'll probably do one more update on this when I get like the Avatar Fire swap and I'm full blown like Ignite one-shot bosses endgame setup, like actual Avatar Fire intended setup. I'll do the endgame update then. And then I will be probably in a week or so pivoting to the Huntress Widow Hail build. But that's been my 1 to 90 journey. This has been really, really good compared to a lot of classes. This has actually kind of been easy mode. I know a lot of people are complaining. This has been like turbo easy mode. I'll see you guys next time.